We live in a time where sharing is instinct. We're taught to broadcast every thought, every idea, every plan as if it proves we're doing something meaningful. The moment we come up with an idea for a business, a project, or a bold new goal, there's this almost reflexive urge to tell someone about it, to tweet it, to post it, to get applause before anything has even happened. And I get it. It feels good. It feels like momentum. It feels like progress. But it's not. Because what we often mistake for progress is really just noise. And if we're not careful, that noise becomes louder than our original intention. See, clarity is power. It's the ability to see your goal not just as a dream, but as a destination. It's when your why is so sharp, so strong, that nothing can pull it off track. That's what clarity gives you, direction. But clarity, real clarity, can't survive in an environment of constant feedback, opinions, and noise. Because every person you tell your plan to brings their lens, their experience, their doubts, and their distractions. Imagine you're holding a piece of glass, clear, unbroken, perfect. That's your vision. But every comment from someone else, even well-meaning, is like a fingerprint on that glass. You might still be able to see through it, but it's not as sharp as it was before. And over time, if you keep handing your vision around, asking everyone what they think, that glass gets smudged beyond recognition. And one day you look at it and can't even remember what it looked like before everyone touched it. That's what happens when you share your plans too early. Now, some might argue that feedback makes us better. And yes, the right kind of feedback at the right time is valuable. But there's a difference between seeking insight and seeking approval. There's a difference between improving a direction and second-guessing the journey altogether. Most people don't realize that when you share your plan, you're not just communicating an idea. You're opening the door to distraction. Suddenly, you're not just executing, you're not just focused. You're adjusting, defending, wondering, and slowly your own belief begins to shift, not because you changed, but because others made you question what was already clear. And the worst part, it's not always negative feedback that causes the most harm. Sometimes it's the praise. Sometimes it's the early applause that tricks you into thinking you've already done something. There's research that shows when we talk about our goals too soon, our brains release dopamine, the same chemical we get when we actually achieve something, so we feel rewarded just for sharing. But that feeling can become a trap. It satisfies us prematurely. It tricks us into slowing down because we already felt the win even though we haven't done the work. That's the paradox of noise. It can sound like support, but act like sabotage. True creators, real leaders, they understand this. They know that their plan is a fragile thing at the beginning. It needs quiet to grow. It needs space. It needs time to become strong before it's exposed to the world, like a seed. You don't dig it up and show it off the day after you plant it. You protect it. You water it. You wait. Because clarity isn't found in conversation. It's found in solitude. In the moments when you're not trying to impress anyone, when you're alone with your thoughts, wrestling with the problem, chasing the solution, that's when your vision sharpens. That's when your why gets louder than your doubts. But when you tell everyone what you're planning to do, you invite a chorus of noise. And not all noise is harmful, but all noise is distracting. And distraction is the enemy of clarity. We need to stop seeking permission for our dreams. We need to stop waiting for consensus before we take a step, because the truth is most people won't understand your plan, not because it's bad, but because it's yours. And that's okay. Your vision isn't supposed to make sense to everyone. If it did, it probably wouldn't be bold enough. So let's make a shift this year. Let's stop announcing our intentions before they're ready. Let's build in the quiet. Let's protect our clarity like it's the most valuable thing we own, because it is. Let's understand that the fewer people we tell, the more power we have to follow through, not because we're hiding, but because we're focused. There will be a time to share. There will be a time to speak, but speak after the doing. Share after the making. Let your results introduce you. Let your actions explain your purpose. Let the world discover your plan by watching you move, not by hearing you talk. And when that moment comes, when you reveal what you've been quietly building, it won't just be a plan. It will be a reality, something tangible, something unshakable. Something that no one can deny, not because they believed in it early, but because you did. In 2025, don't tell people your plan, tell yourself, then show them the results. That's where real leadership begins. We've all been in rooms where someone speaks passionately about what they're going to do. They say things like, I'm building this, or next year I'm launching that. There's often fire in their eyes, conviction in their voice, and for a moment you believe them. You might even applaud them, but months later, there's nothing, no product, no progress, not even a trace of the promise. That's the problem with intentions. They're easy to say, they sound good, they get attention, but they don't move the world. Execution does. We've created a culture that celebrates the announcement of effort more than the evidence. Social media is filled with people sharing their intentions, their goals, their dreams, their next move, but too often, those words aren't backed by follow-through. The world doesn't change because you intend to do something. The world only shifts when you do something and then keep doing it. Intention is like the spark before the flame. It's necessary. It's the beginning. But a spark without fuel dies in seconds. Execution is the firewood. It's the sustained action. It's the thing that actually burns and gives off light and heat. Without it, the spark is just a flash of light. Gone before anyone even notices. The truth is, most people don't need more intention. They need more follow-through, more consistency, more grit in the quiet moments when no one is watching. Because that's what builds things, not talking, doing. And yet, we're rewarded more for the plan than for the process. We're praised for announcing an idea rather than finishing it. But the people who truly lead, who truly create impact, they don't chase applause, they chase results. They don't measure their progress by how many people know what they're up to. They measure it by how many bricks they lay, day after day, quietly and deliberately. Intentions are like promises we make to ourselves and others. But promises are fragile. They only carry weight when they're honored. And over time, people stop listening to promises that go unfulfilled. They stop believing the person who says, I'm going to do this, when they've said that before, and nothing came of it. Trust isn't built on declarations. It's built on delivery. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who move you, who inspire you, who set a standard. They're not the ones who talk about what they're going to do. They're the ones who show up, put their head down, and do it. Over and over again. And then one day you look up and realize they've built something extraordinary. Not because they shouted about it, but because they executed relentlessly, even when no one was cheering. Execution doesn't need a stage. It doesn't need an audience. It's not glamorous. Most of it happens in silence, in late nights and early mornings, in sacrifice, in uncertainty, in the moments when it would be easier to quit or to pivot or to go back to comfort, but you keep showing up. That's where growth lives. That's where momentum builds. And here's what's interesting. When you focus on execution, you actually get more clarity on your intention. When you move, you learn. When you take action, you see what works and what doesn't. You discover the shape of your idea by building it. Talking about it only gives you theory, but doing it gives you truth. We often think we need more motivation, more inspiration, but most of the time, what we really need is movement, just the next step. Because momentum breeds motivation, not the other way around. When you do something, even something small, you create energy, and that energy fuels the next move. And the next, that's execution, that's momentum. And over time, it becomes a force. And don't get me wrong, it's okay to dream, it's okay to plan, but dreaming without execution is fantasy. It's just mental comfort food. And there's nothing wrong with having a vision. In fact, vision is essential. But a vision without effort is just a wish. If you want to change something this year, in your business, in your life, in your leadership, shift your focus from what you're going to do to what you're actually doing. Shift your energy from words to actions. Let people discover your direction by watching your movement, not by listening to your declaration. You don't have to announce your goals to be held accountable. You just have to commit. You don't have to share your strategy to prove you have one. You just have to act. And you certainly don't need the world to cheer you on before you begin. The applause means more when it comes after the work, not before. Because in the end, no one remembers what you said you would do. They remember what you did. Let that be your story. Let that be your standard. Let 2025 be the year you trade potential for performance. The year you stop announcing and start executing. The year you stop chasing recognition and start chasing mastery. Not because it's easy, but because that's where the real impact lives. Let your silence be strategy. Let your work be the statement. Let your consistency be the loudest thing about you. Execution is louder than intention. And when you understand that, you no longer need to talk about what you're going to do. You just need to do it and let the results speak on your behalf. There's a subtle danger in every dream. It's not failure. It's not even fear. It's validation. See, when you get a new idea, a bold, exciting, slightly terrifying vision, your first instinct might be to share it, to ask someone what they think, to see if it makes sense to them, to get a nod, a thumbs up, a little dose of encouragement to help you believe in what you already feel. It seems harmless, even smart. Why not get some feedback? Why not test the waters? Isn't that what people do before making big moves? But what most people don't realize is that too much validation too early can kill the very thing you're trying to build. Not because validation is bad, but because when you depend on it, you start editing your vision to make it acceptable instead of extraordinary. It starts small. You share your plan with someone, a friend, a mentor, a colleague, and they raise a concern. Maybe they don't see the market potential. Maybe they think it's risky. Maybe they just don't get it. So you tweak it just a little. You simplify it, round out the edges, make it more palatable. You shift your words, then your strategy, then slowly your purpose. And before you know it, the thing you were building doesn't look like your original idea at all. It looks like something safer, something smaller, something they would have done, not something you were called to do. And here's the hardest part. They didn't mean any harm. They were trying to help. Most people give advice from a good place. But they can only see the world through their lens, their experiences, their limitations, their fears. And when you ask for their approval, you're not just inviting their input. You're giving them power. Power over your direction, power over your belief. That's how vision dies. Not with rejection, but with slow, steady compromise. We need to stop asking people to believe in our ideas before we've even built them. Because the truth is, your vision isn't supposed to make sense to everyone. If it did, it wouldn't be vision, it would be consensus. And consensus is the opposite of innovation. Every bold idea sounds unrealistic until it works. Every disruptive invention looks ridiculous until it changes everything. Every great leader is misunderstood until history tells a different story. So why are we so eager to fit our vision into a mold that makes others comfortable? The greatest danger isn't that someone will doubt you. The greatest danger is that you'll start to doubt yourself because someone else couldn't see what you see. You're not building for their clarity, you're building for your purpose. Validation can feel like progress. It feels good to be told you're on the right track. But if you're always needing someone else to say yes before you move, then you're not really being led by vision, you're being led by applause. And applause is inconsistent, it's unpredictable, and it's never a reliable compass. Vision is deeply personal. It comes from within. It's the thing that keeps you up at night, not because it's scary, but because it won't leave you alone. It's not a poll. It's not a popularity contest. It's a conviction, a fire that doesn't go out just because someone else doesn't feel the heat. And here's the truth. If you're doing something truly original, you won't find a cheering section at the beginning. You'll probably find resistance. You'll hear more no than yes. You'll face more blank stares than standing ovations. And that's okay, because vision isn't validated by opinion, it's validated by outcomes. You don't need approval to start. You don't need agreement to build. You just need enough belief to take the next step, and then the one after that. And as your vision turns into action and your action turns into progress, people will start to notice. And some of the very same people who didn't understand it at first will come around, not because they suddenly became visionaries, but because you showed them something real. So protect your vision, especially in the early stages. Guard it like something sacred, because it is. Share it with people who've earned the right to speak into your life, people who know how to ask the right questions, not just give easy answers. People who won't water it down, but will help you dig deeper. And even then, listen carefully, but don't surrender your instinct. Because your vision isn't just about what you're building, it's about why you're building it. And that why is what gives it power. That why is what makes it resilient. In 2025, you don't need more approval, you need more courage. You need more moments where you trust your gut, even when no one else gets it. You need more space to build without asking, what will they think? Because what they think doesn't define your outcome. What you do does. Don't trade your fire for comfort. Don't dilute your purpose for praise. Don't let someone else's limitations become the ceiling on your dreams. You are not here to be understood. You are here to create something worth understanding. So let your work speak. Let your results earn the recognition. Let your vision live, not because it was validated early, but because you had the guts to carry it through the lonely stretch where no one clapped and you kept walking anyway. Validation might feel good in the moment, but vision is what lasts. And if you stay true to it, even when it's hard, even when it's quiet, even when you feel completely alone, you'll wake up one day and realize you didn't need their yes. You just needed to stop asking for it. There's something subtle but dangerous about constantly talking about what you're going to do. It doesn't feel wrong. In fact, it often feels exciting. You speak the idea out loud, and for a moment it feels like it's real. The energy rises, the emotion surges, and the plan feels alive. But over time, that habit of over-talking can drain something vital. Not just your momentum, but your energy, your drive, your focus. Energy is one of the most valuable resources we have when it comes to building anything meaningful. And not just physical energy, the emotional, creative, and mental bandwidth we bring to our work. That invisible fuel is what allows us to stay up late refining a project, to push through resistance, to keep moving even when there's no immediate payoff. But here's the part we forget. Energy isn't infinite. And every time we talk too much about the thing we haven't done yet, we leak a little more of it. Talking about the plan becomes a substitute for action. It satisfies that part of us that wants recognition without requiring us to actually earn it. We tell a friend, we post about it, we describe it in detail, and people respond, wow, that sounds amazing. That's going to be huge. I love it. And in that moment, we feel validated. But that feeling, that little high, it's deceptive. Because it tricks the brain into thinking we've made progress when we've really just spent energy rehearsing an outcome we haven't begun to create. There's real neuroscience behind this. When we talk about our goals, especially in a public or social setting, our brains release dopamine, the reward chemical. That dopamine is the same hit we get when we actually achieve something. But in this case, nothing has happened. We've spent the energy, we've felt the reward, but we haven't built a single thing. And now we're less motivated to do the hard work because we already felt the result. It's like eating sugar before the workout. You get the rush without the effort, and your body doesn't push the same way. Talking about your plan too early gives you a sugar high, and then you crash. Now, this doesn't mean you should never share your ideas. There's a difference between intentional communication and casual over-talking. The problem isn't in speaking your vision, it's in repeating it over and over to the wrong audience at the wrong time for the wrong reasons. If you're sharing just to get a reaction, you're not building, you're performing, and performance consumes energy. The people who build extraordinary things, they know how to hold their vision close. They understand that the most powerful work is often done in silence. They're not afraid of keeping things under wraps. Not because they're hiding, but because they're focused. They know that every word spoken prematurely is a withdrawal from their creative account. And they want to invest that energy into action, not explanation. It's in the quiet work that foundations are laid. It's in the undistracted hours that breakthroughs happen. It's when no one's asking you how it's going and you're not explaining that the real work is done. That's where momentum lives. Every time you explain your idea, you're not just describing it, you're spending energy on it. And when you do it too often, you leave less and less for the work itself. You dilute your urgency, you lose the fire. Eventually you get tired of even hearing yourself talk about it. And you haven't even started building, and maybe that's the most dangerous place to be, when your words have exhausted you before your work has begun. Some of the most successful people don't talk about what they're doing, they just do it. They show up, they work, they execute, and then one day they unveil something fully formed, something powerful, something undeniable. And people say, where did that come from? It came from the silence. It came from the energy they protected. It came from the discipline of keeping their mouth shut while their hands stayed busy. There's power in being underestimated. There's strength in building quietly. When no one knows what you're working on, no one is interfering, no one is adding doubt or distraction or noise, and you get to keep your energy exactly where it belongs, on the next step. Think about how much time and energy is spent talking about the future, what we're going to build, who we're going to become, where we're going to go. Now imagine if all that energy was redirected into actual movement. Not announcements, not speculation, not hype, just meaningful progress, brick by brick, step by step. In 2025, make it a habit to protect your energy. Don't give it away for a quick dopamine hit. Don't waste it trying to impress people with your plans. Impress them with your consistency, with your craft, with your results. Your idea doesn't need validation before it's real. It doesn't need applause before it's built. It just needs your full attention, your undivided energy, your relentless commitment. That's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it inevitable. There's a quiet confidence in not needing to talk, in knowing you're doing the work, in understanding that your results will speak so loudly one day you won't need to say a word. And when that day comes, when people finally see what you've been building, they'll ask, how did you do it? And you'll smile, because you know you didn't spend your energy proving it, you spent your energy doing it. That's where transformation happens. In the silence, in the stillness, in the space between over-talking and over-delivering. Choose over-delivering and let your energy stay where it matters most, in your hands, in your heart, and in your work. There's something powerful about silence when it's backed by results. Something commanding, something magnetic. In a world where everyone is constantly talking about what they're doing, what they're planning, what they hope will happen, the person who simply shows up and delivers stands out like a lighthouse in the fog. We're living in a time where the pressure to be visible is overwhelming. We're told that if we don't post about our progress, it doesn't exist. That if people don't see us grinding, then we must not be working hard enough. That success requires attention before it requires achievement. But that's backward. Real success isn't driven by noise. It's driven by clarity, discipline, and execution. You don't need to shout your intentions from the rooftop. You just need to let your results walk into the room before you do, and when they arrive, they do the talking for you. There's a kind of credibility that can't be bought, borrowed, or begged for. It's the kind that only comes from proof. And proof takes time. Proof takes commitment. Proof doesn't need a microphone. It doesn't need hashtags or headlines. It just needs your full devotion to the process, especially when nobody's watching. People respect action more than articulation. They admire consistency more than charisma. And they remember delivery more than declaration. Because anyone can talk. Talking is easy, it costs nothing, but results are earned. They're built through discomfort, repetition, and staying the course long after the feeling has faded. You don't have to tell everyone what you're building. Build it. You don't have to convince people to believe in your vision, make it real. You don't have to hype your potential, turn it into performance. When you let results announce you, you're choosing substance over style. You're choosing depth over display. You're choosing to play the long game, where the scoreboard isn't public opinion, it's actual progress. And that choice, it changes you. Because when you stop needing people to see you, you start seeing yourself more clearly. You start focusing on the work, not the reaction. You stop thinking about the impression you're making and start thinking about the impact you're creating. You begin to realize that growth happens when your head is down and your hands are busy, not when your ego is performing for approval. It's tempting to want people to know what you're doing, to feel seen, to feel validated. But here's the truth. The longer you go without external validation, the more internal conviction you build. And conviction is stronger than confidence. Confidence comes from results. Conviction comes from belief, the kind of belief that carries you through failure, through doubt, through silence. Letting your results speak doesn't mean staying invisible forever. It means focusing on what matters first, making something worth showing. It means trusting that if you build something valuable, something real, the world will eventually take notice, even if it's not today. Some of the most impactful people on the planet worked for years in obscurity. Innovators, artists, leaders, they weren't tweeting their progress or live streaming their strategy sessions. They were building quietly, intentionally, obsessively. And then one day, they showed the world what they've been working on, and no one could ignore it. There's power in being underestimated. When no one sees you coming, they can't prepare for what you bring. And by the time they realize your strength, your momentum is already too strong to stop. So don't rush to be seen, rush to be ready. That's the trap. Thinking visibility is success. It's not. Visibility without substance is a bubble. It inflates quickly and pops even faster. But substance without visibility, that's a foundation. That's what lasts. That's what builds trust, not just attention. You don't need a spotlight to grow. In fact, sometimes the absence of a spotlight is the very thing that allows you to grow without distraction. When no one is watching, you get to experiment. You get to fail safely. You get to refine your voice, your rhythm, your direction without pressure to perform. So use the quiet seasons wisely. Use them to sharpen your skills, to deepen your purpose, to build something so solid, so undeniable, that when the time comes to show it, there is no doubt, no hesitation, just truth. And when your results finally arrive, when they walk into the room, they won't need explanation, they won't need justification, they'll just be unmistakable, unshakable, a reflection of all the hours no one saw. In 2025, let this be your mindset. I don't need to prove anything before it's built. I don't need the world to clap before I've earned it. I will focus on the work. I will protect the process. I will honor the silence, because silence is not weakness. Silence is not invisibility. Silence is power under control. Silence is preparation, it's discipline, it's maturity. And the ones who learn to master it will always, always win in the long run. Let your results speak. Let them carry the weight of your story. Let them be louder than any pitch, any promise, any post. And when that moment comes, when the thing you've been building quietly finally meets the world, they'll say, "Where did this come from?" And you'll smile, because you'll know exactly where it came from. It came from the grind, from the stillness, from the days when you chose progress over performance. It came from letting your results announce you. And that, right there, that's leadership.